For the first time in over 30 years, people are finally leaving Oregon. And if you're considering making the move to Oregon, this might be alarming to you. And on this video, I'm going over the 7 reasons why people are calling it quits on Oregon, so you don't make the mistake of moving here if it's not the right fit. The first thing we want to break down, though, is the cost of living. It is expensive to live in this beautiful state. Oregon is actually over the national average on cost of living index, which is at 114. And depending on which sites you're looking at or who you're talking to, Oregon tends to rank pretty high on the cost of living, coming in right behind Hawaii, California, New York, and a few others. Let's take a look at rent, for example. Rent here in Oregon is around $2,100 on average across the state, as where the average for the rest of the United States is around $1,800 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. So it's quite a bit higher. And then where it's even higher is if you decide to buy a home, if you can even afford it. The median home price in Oregon is around $468,000, as to where the average or the median for the United States is around $338,000. When you pair the high housing costs with the high cost of living, you can kind of start to piece together why people are packing up and moving to more affordable states. Now, don't get me wrong. There definitely still is affordable housing. There is still cheap homes out there, but they tend to be cheap for a reason. By the way, my name is Brad, and on this channel, I make videos all about Oregon, real estate, and just living that Southern Oregon life. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified every time I drop a new video. So number 2 is a little sensitive, and that is the homeless problem. Now, I've talked about in other videos before about how bad the homeless problem is here, and people are ruthless in the comments. I got called heartless, all this stuff. It's pretty widespread. I know other states also have the problem, and it's not just here in Southern Oregon, right? It's if you look anywhere along the I-5 corridor. So you got Grants Pass, Roseburg, all these towns suffer from homeless problems. Portland probably being the worst. They get the worst of it. I actually saw a meme there that there was a tent and a guy had his car parked, so he made a garage out of tents, which is, great ingenuity, right? Hats off to them. And it sucks because you take a look at the beautiful parks, the downtown areas that once were tons of fun to go walk around and do stuff. Now it's just littered with trash and tents and homeless people sleeping everywhere. Last week I was driving through downtown area, and right in front of the RCC library, there's a ton of homeless people that sleep out there. There's a little covered area, so it kind of keeps them dry. And I saw a gentleman who had a little warming fire, I guess you can call it, I don't know, in a tin can. And, just trying to warm his hands up. Super sad. But that's just kind of what the normal is now. It seems like in these a little bit bigger cities, the smaller cities like Rogue River, Gold Hill, you don't really see it too bad. But the major areas along I-5, definitely a problem. And so there's a wide variety of reasons why this could be happening. Things like, mental health issues, drugs. So actually, let's roll right into that, because that's number 3 is the drug problem. And I know that other states deal with drug problems as well, but where Oregon differs is it seems like we're on the more progressive side of drugs. And a lot of people are starting to not like the way that the future of Oregon is looking in this aspect. And so they are deciding to leave. So back in, I think, 2016, we legalized marijuana. Don't quote me on the date. It was a while back like that. And then last year, we actually legalized mushrooms. And we also decriminalized drugs. So if you got busted with, say, a certain amount of meth or underneath a certain amount, all they can do is just give you a fine, and you have to appear in court. Probably not going to do anything. So people just aren't huge fans of that. So they just don't like the policies that are coming down, which now rolls me into the 4th reason why people are leaving Oregon. And this one might be a little bit of a touchy subject, but we're going to touch on it anyways, and that is politics. Oregon is known for being a very liberal and progressive state. However, the majority of Oregon, geographically, at least speaking, not population-wise, but geographically, tends to be a little bit more conservative and don't necessarily agree with the policies and bills that come down from the Salem-Portland area. So for a long time, Oregon has been trying to kind of separate from that northern portion, right? So there was the State of Jefferson movement, which didn't really have a lot of traction. And then as of recently, we have the Greater Idaho movement, which seems to actually be moving the needle just a little forward. People are kind of just tired of the northern cities, big cities, dictating how we operate. And, you know, especially how the whole pandemic got handled here in Oregon, I feel like a lot of people decided to pack up and leave just because of that alone. So the politics, yeah, touchy subject. So I'm sure people are going to light me up in the comments, but let's go. Now, the next one is state taxes. So one of the benefits to living in Oregon is we don't have sales tax, which is great, right? Especially if you're coming from a state like California that has kind of high sales tax. But Oregon still is going to get their money, and they do that through their state taxes. So Oregon has, I think, like the third highest state taxes in the country. So you pair that with high cost of living and all the other problems that we've listed on this list so far, and you can really start to see the picture of why people are deciding to leave. Now, this next one is a big reason why I've considered moving in the past, and that is fire season. So one of the benefits of living here in Oregon is the beautiful outdoors. And when I say beautiful, it's gorgeous, right? We have amazing coastline. Water's not warm, but it's beautiful to look at. Hiking, rivers, lakes, tons of outdoor activities. And those outdoor activities aren't necessarily the most fun when it's 35 degrees outside and raining. So we tend to look forward to those summer months. And when those summer months come and you only get like a week, maybe 2 weeks of summer, and then fire season starts, and all of a sudden you can't see 100 yards in front of you because the smoke's so thick, it really kind of puts a damper on what you've been looking forward to all year long. Now, if you've made it this far and you're still really considering making the move to Oregon, make sure you reach out. My contact information is down below. Shoot me an email. Love to help you out in any way possible when making the move here. Number 7 is going to be poor education. Apparently I went to Oregon schools, huh? Poor education. So Oregon tends to fall in the bottom 50 portion of the 50 states when it comes to education. 44 to be exact, according to wallethub.com. And the reason for this is we have a little bit higher dropout rate, as well as we tend to test on the lower side on the state testing. And if you have kids in school, this might be a determining factor for you whether or not you want to stay in Oregon or move to another state that has a better education system. Now, granted, this is only through the K through 12 system, so public school system. We're not talking about private schools or anything like that, or colleges. And if you're considering making the move to Southern Oregon, make sure you check out this video here. It will help you out tremendously, and I will see you over there.